lights here. Good. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome back. I told you I would be back. All right. Let's get this show on the road. So let me get this started up here. And while this loop is loading up here, I'll take a moment to thank you guys for taking a moment of your precious time to be a part of this precious family. Okay, time is very important, and it's important to me because I couldn't get some people's attention or time, and it was of very dire importance. So it's important that you guys take your time here and enjoy the presence of being here. All right, so here's our loop playing here. Something wrong with our magnification. I think we're in a little too tight, but all right, there's our loop plan. You can see the date up here. This is November 9th, 2024, and you can see our little object interacting with the sun right there and drawing out some plasma. And we'll go through this frame by frame as well here, but let that loop play for a second. And again, thank you for taking a moment of your precious time. All right, so let's dive on in here. Good to see Brad White here, Hopkinson, Tiger's Eye, everybody showing up in the chat there. So thank you all, and let's do this. Okay, let's catch this opening frame here. Once it comes back around, and we'll start dissecting this frame by frame. So starting off here, 024. November 9th, 2024. And as we start to proceed through here, you can see little spits and sputters going on up here, right where our spire region is. As a little satellite or moon or object interacts right there, moves on out. Let's go like this a little bit. Let's trim this up a little bit. Try to get a little bit more in there for you. Okay, so you can see that one moving through. And then here's our main event coming out of this spire region. Let's back up a little bit. Okay, you can see this little spire region before our event already sticking out right here. This acts like a compass needle. These things stick out. They point at another magnetic field, just like a compass needle does. And coming out of this spire region is our next event. Now, right about here, actually, let's go previous frame right there. And we'll zoom in on this one. This is the frame from the thumbnail. And we'll have to darken this up a little bit because it's so bright that we dim it a little bit. Now you can see our darker little object right in the center right there. And I'll even zoom in more for you because it's pretty small there. But this is a good shot right here where you can see our central object right here. You can see its magnetic field, this little band right around here. You can clearly see that one. All right, and a bunch of plasma that's latched onto it. It's stretching out this plasma as it moves away from the sun. And here you can see it enveloped in the plasma, and you can see its magnetic field lines, its little ring around it right there. Couple of them. You can see another one out here, a little further out, another one in between there. So there's several little magnetic field lines that you can see that are accompanying this object right here, and it's drawing plasma. Plasma, is attracted to magnets, so this magnetic field latches onto the plasma of the sun, pulls it along, stretches it out. We get the spaghettification effect. Okay, so there's your object right there. Let's back on out and brighten it up a little bit. All right, thank you for bearing with me there. I'm just trying to get the best images I can for you guys so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. All right, so let's trim this up again. There we go. Now, as it proceeds on out, you can see it on both sides here, taking a bunch of plasma with it that looks like it has another little object, maybe a couple of them, the central one and maybe a little smaller one in front here. And there's your event. gonna go ahead and play that again and just let it play in the loop there. Now that we're not playing with the buttons, we can centralize a little more. There we go. So there's your activity from today. All right. So we had another couple little satellites approaching the sun here, interacting with them. Here's one right in this spire region. Now, once it's gone, see, the spire's gone. Once this one's gone, there's still, see how sharp it is right there. And once the interaction's over, there's a little bit left. So this event here's a little satellite, little moon, a couple little ones possibly in that one right there. And we could possibly see a bigger event coming here pretty soon, especially when we see these little ones first. Then usually we see a bigger one and then little ones trailing afterwards. So there's your activity for the moment for today. Now let's come on over here to the solar ham here and talk about our solar flux indice is up at 221. Okay, it's down 10 points, so it is declining, but it's still in the red zone. So 220 and declining, which is good. Our sunspot number count is at 164. We're down 3 little spots. Remember those 3 little objects that we just saw interact with the sun? Well, those spots have now diminished and disappeared probably. 3 less, okay? Meanwhile, our area in the 1500s, not big deal right there. Let's pop this open here real quick and zoom in on some of these sunspot regions just to familiarize you with them and where they're at. Yeah, that's right. Okay, whoops, slide right there. Okay, 3883, this was the one that gave us problems before. It's deteriorating and diminishing. 3884 is kind of scattered and weakening and diminishing. Meanwhile, we have this region over here, 3889. It's still pretty complex. It's still got some strength and stuff in it. But where do we see this latest object come out of? Down here and up there. So it came out of that region right there. And if we find out here that this latest event right here came out of that sunspot region, I bet you will see this region start to diminish as well. But meantime, there's that. Let's go back and slide on over and scroll on down and see how fluxed we are. Goes X-ray flux, that is. So you can see the last couple of days, a little bit of bumpiness here as we have some of those little satellite moons interact. And then here we go again with today. Here's some of our little interactions that we saw. And then we have this spike right on the cusp right here. And we could go take a peek at tomorrow right here if you want. I mean, it's sitting right here on this. If it's updated, we could like refresh it and take a peek at this if you'd like. And even if you don't want to, tough, we're going to do it anyway. All right, here we go. Not much to see, but you can see some of our regions, the spires are gone now because those interactions are over and they're weakening. All right, meanwhile, we got this area over here starting to glow a little bit. You can see little puffs coming out of here, but something else starting to occur right in this region right here in the last frame here. See if we can capture that. Boom. Right here, we got something starting to occur right there. And that's at 648, so that's not even our event. This is the event they're talking about right up here at 036. Okay, so we have this little one going on right there. Let's just try to get a little bit more of it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, another little small satellite, little moon, small little stellar core, whatever you want to call it. All right. And then our new event happening right down here, and it looks pretty widespread, and it's in a dark region. Okay, so some of these little objects create spires, and some of the bigger ones actually create a dark patch or a dark region like that down in this area. So that's where we're seeing this event come out. We might see another larger size object come out of that area here pretty soon. Meanwhile, there's your X-ray flux for the meantime. All right, now let's back on out of that. and get on over here to our 3-day geomagnetic forecast. Now, it's all clear for the next 3 days. Take note of that, all right, because we had an unexpected geomagnetic event happen, all right? Now, these events catch the regular scientific community off guard, but they're no surprise here at this channel because of some of this activity. These CMEs hit, but the actual, maybe the CME will miss us sometimes, but the actual object that induced it has still retaining some um, electromagnetic radiation. And if that object interacts with our magnetic field, we all of a sudden get this unexpected geomagnetic storm. Okay. But in the meantime, it's all clear for the next 3 days. Hopefully, it stays that way. All right. I don't want to see unexpected ones. I don't like to be like, hey, I told you so. I don't want to see these storms hit because we don't need any more of this energy being absorbed into the planet. Okay, meanwhile, our X flare potential still up here at 20%. It's not in the red or yellow. It's just sitting there green with 20% still sitting on it. All right, so don't let the green fool you. X flare potential still 20% there. All right, latest events was the M4.2. We'll talk about this geomagnetic storm here in just a second, but I just want to touch base with 3889, which is beta, gamma, delta, and growing. That was at the moment of this report. After this latest event that I think came out of this region right here, it'll probably be declining. Meanwhile, 3883 was the other beta, gamma, delta, and it's declining. So if it came out of this region, that's why it's declining. Hopefully this one's done too. All right, now you can see your auroras aren't too bad right now. They're in the green, but we did have a geomagnetic storm, a G1 geomagnetic storm right here. And you can see it only hit yellow here. But what happened is it there we go. That's a little better. It affected the BZ component, and that BZ component was affected, I believe, by a passing object and its magnetic field. Sometimes these objects pass to the south of the planet or underneath our planet, and it will affect the southern hemisphere. Other times, some of them buzz above the Earth, and they affect the northern hemisphere more. So here we have this unexpected G1 geomagnetic storm, and I'm going to show you why this storm was not surprising. All right, so this happened on the 8th. Here, we'll finish up really quick and then we'll go touch base with that really quick. So this happened on the 8th. Here's your unexpected G1 geomagnetic storm that kind of caught the scientific community off guard. Okay, and they have a little, excuse for it. But let's get back to the BZ component of the interplanetary magnetic field, or the IMF, carried past Earth via the solar wind, has pointing south the past few hours. Active geomagnetic conditions, KP4, will be possible with minor G1 geomagnetic storming may also be possible should this condition persist for a longer duration. Aurora sky watchers at higher latitudes should be on alert for dark once it's dark outside. Okay, so here again, the BZ continues to point south. I believe it's pointing south because our activity may be traveling south underneath the planet. So the BZ continues to point south, and reports of red auroras are coming in from locations across Canada and the northern tier of the USA. A minor G1 geomagnetic storm watch is now in effect. All right, it's already kind of over. You can see up here, it's already over for a few hours now, so that's a little old. Well, let's get over here and open up the tracker and do some track-a-lacking, since we are lacking some tracking. Okay, they don't have any kind of CMEs going off here. You can just see the small little shock wave coming off here. But as a representation, these little black circles are orbits of the planets. All right, so here's Mercury's orbit, here's Venus's orbit, and then here's Earth's orbit right here. Okay, Earth is the little yellow dot on this line. But we're going to use these black circles as magnetic field lines to represent magnetic field barriers around the sun. If another object with a magnetic field comes in and bumps this barrier, this ring, make believe, or let's pretend that this is our magnetic field. If something bumps into it like that, one of these objects, it'll spark a CME in the direction that it happened at. But then if the object continues to go by us, then CME goes this way, object goes by us, and then all of a sudden we get these unexpected geomagnetic storms. Okay, and some of these things travel, here's north south. Okay, so you can see sometimes these components travel south of the planet. All right, just like we saw before. Okay, and that affects the southern part of the, I believe that's pulling our BZ component south and weakening our magnetic field, allowing more geomagnetic radiation to pour in when the said object passes. Okay, so backing out of that, if you come over here, you see they're not showing any kind of impact for the next 3 days, okay? So that's good. Now, what I'm going to do here is back out of this. Just really quick. It appears that the CME that was expected to glance past Earth was detected at 1424 by the A spacecraft, but so far the impact appears to be minor and a geomagnetic storming has not yet been observed. That was back on the 7th. Okay, so now let's come on over here to spaceweather.com and calm before the storm with a question mark. Because solar activity has been relatively low for the past 48 hours, the calm might not last. 2 sunspots facing Earth have unstable beta gamma delta magnetic fields, which we saw earlier, and both of those magnetic fields that could explode at any moment. So NOAA forecasters estimate a 20% chance of X flares for November 10th. Now, they're calling this the afterglow of a CME. A CME that hit Earth on November 7th. Okay, so the CME impact was the 7th, yet all this supposed afterglow took place on the 8th. The impact was weak. See, the impact was weak too. So if it was a weak impact, why are we having afterglow? All right, so the impact was weak and did not immediately cause geomagnetic storm. The afterglow, however, was out of the world. So I believe the afterglow is maybe our object that's passing by, giving us unexpected auroras and unexpected geomagnetic storms after the CME has passed or even glanced. And we were talking about that a few days ago. Hey, this thing might glance us, but don't be surprised if we get an unexpected geomagnetic storm. And here it is. Okay? It's not an I told you so. It's just trying to explain how this is working. Really pretty image. You can come over here, read more about this article and stuff, but I believe we're seeing these unexpected ones because of the object itself actually retaining some of the geomagnetic electricity that comes with it. Okay. Whew. So now let's come on over here and open up a Schumann resonance. Take a deep breath, everybody, and here we go. As you can see, we're going into another grinding event. It's getting very intense through all these frequencies from 0 down to 30. All right, it's starting to get intense in all those frequencies right there. And, I didn't need to take that one off. But as you can see, we've had quite a bumpy ride. Starting over here, we were reporting on this the other night with this little gap right here where it got weak. Back to grinding, tapers off. Okay, we had a big event where we had a dramatic drop in pressure, boom, right there. And that was our volcanic blast that we had. Meanwhile, we go back to grinding a little bit of continuity through here. Here's a weak spot right there. And then here's most of today was gradual grinding, a little bit of weakness, back to intense, normal, intense. And now we're going into another intense phase here. So a little bumpy ride going on in the Schumann resonance, and this is your core spinning inside its shell. That dynamo propagates an electromagnetic field outward, much like a little electric motor that spins a fan, your simple, basic little round electric motor. If you put electricity into the poles, it will spin the shaft, the core, right? If you take the electricity off and spin the shaft or manually spin the core with your fingers, electricity will come out the poles. Well, the planet works much like that. And when that motor is spinning, when that, the shaft is spinning inside that little electric motor, you get a much larger magnetic field. It's stronger, it's bigger, it propagates out in a circle in all directions. And when the stronger that motor spins, the stronger the magnetic field generates. Okay, and you can make your own magnetic shield with a little motor if you have a powerful enough motor. But that's the basic effect of what's going on. And now here we are, pressure is built up, and now we're starting to go through a grinding session right now. Okay, so yeah, you're all good, Eric. You're allowed to have a sense of humor here. Okay. Now, so back to this, we're undergoing a lot of pressure right now, and having some extreme frequencies, or frequencies down to 20 hertz right here. They're starting to get very extreme. Now, this is much like having all the radio stations on in your car, AM and FM, all right? Every single station is playing all at once, all right? And you got this garbled mix of commercials with country music, with rock music, with talk radio, with commercials, all garbled together. That's all your different frequencies. So all this mess garbled together, and then someone comes and turns the volume up really loud. That's the intensity level. That's all of these frequencies being played really intensely. So right now we're going through a grinding session, and it's emitting a lot of intense frequency right now, even at the 7.83 range that affects us. So we had good continuity, a little dipping here, weakness, back to grinding. So it's been a bumpy ride, and here we go on the roller coaster ride. It's getting intense now. All right, now let's move on here. Open up an old school site here. All right, let me do a little adjusting here with my camera. Try to get better images here for you guys. I got the Paul Bagley technology. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, really quick, let's drop back down to the surface here. I just want to talk about our inner tropical convergence zone. You see it going across here. You can see air from the southern hemisphere crossing the equator and coming up into the northern hemisphere here. Okay, so it's mainly on this side of the planet for right now, but we have had a shift in our intertropical convergence zone there. Over on this side, it's not so bad. It's dissipated. Okay. Here it was coming way up and then hitting India. That whole circular fashion has stopped. Over here, whoa, see how all this shifts like this? So it should be at the equator. The equator is matched. Well, that's not working here at this side, so let's just leave it alone. Right here in the middle, though, you can see they're blending together right here. Your convergence zone isn't clear up at this level like it is over on the other side, but it is down at here a little bit. And you're starting to see a little bit of air from the southern hemisphere creep into this jet right here. All right, so there's your surfaces. Surface winds. Now I'm going to show you the weather up here a little higher. It's your vortex activity going on. Rotating storms. There's a big one up there in the Gulf going on. There's a secondary one going on right behind it. Meanwhile, look over here. They have just gotten slammed with a typhoon that's about to slam this region. And here comes another one with another one and another one forming here. Okay, this is not looking good for this region. They don't have that sandstorm effect over on this side of the planet that quells a lot of this all this bombogenesis hurricane typhoon activity. First off, let's also go up here to our do a polar vortex check-in really quick here. Okay, you see our main central core is getting more and more organized. It's very broad, really, across here, across the top. but you can see it's got an inflow jet here and another inflow jet going up into here. Well, coming out of this region, gets a little dip, but it hops back in there. Also, look at this, air from the south going up, converging and going up in there. So you're seeing the transition right here. When you see air from the southern hemisphere coming up, hooking up with these jets, you can see the deterioration, of the polar vortex down in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so theirs is deteriorating while the northern hemisphere is starting to get stronger and more organized as we get into winter. All right, now we'll come back down to your upper jet streams are all gnarly, all bumpy, very chaotic right now because of the transition period. And we also have our thermal activity on the ocean surface controlling weather as well. So we'll get back to this level really quick. We're going to hop into our sandstorm report really quick here. Take off the wind. All right, so as you can see here, our white patch of intensity is more down in this corner of Africa. The rest of it is not white, but it's still there. There's still a healthy plume all the way across this whole band of the southern Atlantic right there. Okay, and now all that sand helps quell the thunderstorm head height. Okay, which subdues your hurricane activity, subdues your tornado activity and stuff, keeping a lot of these violent storms under control. Thankfully, we have this sand plume doing this. Okay, because when you don't, you get this effect over here where they're getting all these typhoons lined up in a row. All right, let's go around really quick here. You can see your Africa, still Saudi Arabia, Middle East covered with it. You can still see there's something lingering there with a couple of eyes, and it's still there. Okay, and then Australia has its own independent sandstorm, and South America has its own independent sandstorm too. And these geomagnetic storms gives the sand a static charge. Sand is silica and it can hold an electric charge. So when you make a static charge on the sand, it becomes lighter. Not necessarily lighter than air, but it becomes much lighter. And with our intensified winds now, because of the weather, it kicks up this sand, which is lighter, and then it propagates all over the place. And this sandstorm has been going on since November of last year. So it's been a while. Stephen A., glad you made it, dude. All right, so there's your sandstorm report for right now. Okay, and your bull or whatever sitting there still. Okay, now we're going to come over here and do our SO2 report. Now, this is sulfur dioxide, not carbon dioxide. This is basically vaporized magma. It's the gas that surrounds the magma down below, and it pushes up through any kind of perforations in the crust. And as you can see, everything's starting to fill in here. It's no longer really divided so much with the defining line. You can see it kind of swirling around and blossoming around, and all sorts of new little spots opening up here, up in Canada and stuff. So let's get into our swirled up, mixed up country here that's still kind of divided, but just kind of along a really weird zigzag line. So let's add our fires, because these SO2 emissions coming out of the ground are so hot that they spark fires at emission sites. Now, this was a big problem up in Canada earlier, but a lot of that activity is quelled. You can see a couple little yellow ones. These red ones don't count. I'm looking more for like this kind of activity. It had lowered, dropped down into the lower 48 here. And we were seeing these fires spark up in Oregon, Washington, Idaho. Well, now it's further south. That activity, look at how just widespread. It's all diffused now. We got multiple sites here just spewing SO2 in the Pacific Northwest. So we come down into California, you can see there's a fire here. This one definitely from an SO2 emission site right there. Okay, that one I won't count, but this one definitely. And you can see we got SO2 emission sites creeping in over to this area too. So the fires aren't too bad right now, thankfully. Take off that. Whoops. Let's go back over to the chemicals. SO2 again. There we go. All right, so as you can see, very strong emissions on the East Coast, very soft, spongy crust right there. So a lot of, really small perforation, little channels, little shafts that come up like elevator shafts from down below, leaking this gas. All right, you come down into Mexico, you can see a lot of SO2 emission sites, a lot of volcanic activity in that region as well. Cuba, Jamaica, all of these islands right here. Boom, 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 boom. All emitting SO2, even South America coming down the coast. These are all individual sites right here. This isn't a plume that's just running down the coast. All right, we come in here to our fulcrum point on the plate boundary system, and sure enough, it was your strongest emission site because it's the path of least resistance. It's a fulcrum point. So we see a strong emission site here all the time. We come in to check on how the other ones around it are doing. This secondary one looking almost as big, not as strong, but bigger than this one. Our upper dot is very dark. Fifth dot is still there. Fourth dot's kind of missing. So I think the intensity, opening here diminished some of the pressure at this one. It transferred. Now we're seeing a stronger emission at this one, trying to catch up with our main site right there. And as we come on down, you can see all the strong emission sites running along that South America here. We back out, see our plume blowing out into the Pacific. And you got SO2 emission sites all up in this side now of South America. All right, now we're going to come on over and stop off at Hawaii because the Pacific Rim is much like a bicycle rim. It has a hub in the center, and this is the hub of the Pacific Rim where pressure comes out here too. And no volcanic activity going off, but a lot of SO2 coming out of Oahu here, Maui's a little bit, and Hawaii, of course, with the volcano there. Coming on over to the east. Let's adjust for their time because 8 hours behind us. All right, and you can see their SO2 emission sites are not just small little round dots. There's our long crack-like long fissure type looking structures now. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. The more gas comes out, the more it erodes the little channel that it came out of. Then rainwater goes down that channel, erodes it away even more. And pretty soon you get this effect where China's just getting dissolving. All right, and that SO2 is a poisonous gas too. That's not good to be breathing in either. All right, meanwhile, we have Korea, the whole peninsula starting to darken up and fill in. We have Japan, of course, a volcanic island chain right there. Okay, we stop off here at Taiwan. This is where a fulcrum point is on the plate boundary system. We haven't had a lot of quakes out of this region lately, so we're seeing a lot more SO2 emissions out of there. Meanwhile, you can see this typhoon that's about to make landfall here has swept up a bunch of this SO2 and taken it into the storm and going to lash this storm, or this storm's going to lash that country with sulfuric acid rain. We come on down here to the island of Java because it's another emission site. It has a lot of SO2 emissions. It's been like a relief valve down here. We have 2 active volcanoes, Semeru and Merapi here, that constantly going off. We also have Krakatoa in the Straits right here, and then the island of Sumatra and some of the islands off the coast are starting to emit SO2 as well. Okay, so very, very dark in this region. We've had an uptick in pressure, which we saw on the Schumann, and we're seeing darkening of our SO2 emission sites because pressure from down below is shoving more gas out. Pretty simple stuff. I think you guys understand pretty good, pretty well. All right, Deep Creek region, Fiji, emitting SO2. Here's our boat-like little pencil-type island with 2 SO2 emission sites that relieve pressure on the plate boundary system at the beginning here. So take note of that for later on. Meanwhile, Australia, SO2 emission sites all around there. Even New Zealand has volcanoes on this island emitting SO2 as well. All right, so there's your SO2 report. Oh, really quick here, you can see India darkening up too. They got a lot of emission sites, and the wind pushes it up against the Himalayas, but the Himalayas being so tall, it won't go over. So it keeps recycling over this area and concentrating the gas in that region. You can see the Middle East filling in here with SO2 emission sites starting to sprout up all over the place here. Look at all these different little sites that are starting to pop up all through that region. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing the tools we have if you know what to look for and how this works. All the information sitting right there in front of you, but nobody's going to put it together for you. So that's what I do. All right, here we go. Little sites in Southern Africa as well. All right, let's get on over here to our ocean sea surface temperature anomalies for, this is not now, but that's yesterday. This map takes so long. There's so much data that goes into it. It takes a day to compile it all and put it into a map. But here you can see we have hot water plumes at the surface here because of emission sites on the ocean floor. Cold water starting to inundate. We're having cold versus hot effects right here. When we see that happen, hot air forms over the warm water, cooler air over the colder water. Hot air rises, cold air rushes in to replace it. So we're going to see some kind of vortex activity in this region probably pretty soon. Meanwhile, look at the Gulf as well. Lots of hot water right along the shoreline right there. All right, so still a lot of fuel for hurricane genesis in the Gulf. Thankfully, the launch ramp for hurricanes has been shut down, so they're just kind of forming in this area and then coming up. Meanwhile, this big triangular structure out here has diminished in color and in size. The pressure in that region has reduced overall. But out here, you can see this region opening up now, just below our Tamumasi region that was here. Look at this, all new right here, just off of Hawaii. Okay, so all this is now spewing a lot of hot water, steam, SO2 on the ocean floor, creating heat plumes in the ocean and at the surface. Gee, what do you think's going on right here? You think that's just one big hot tub in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? No, that's definitely a volcanic site on the ocean floor that has opened up and now has created a heat plume right there. Okay. When you can see what's going on when you see the coloration. Now, we come in here to our Juan de Fuca. This is a region we've been talking about lately. Here's your Juan de Fuca, comes off this little point, comes out, zigzags up through here. All right, we still have a little bit of emission sites inside the Juan de Fuca plate, okay, right there. And then cold water inundation around the, where it comes out, fulcrum point, and starts zigzagging up. So this region finally getting some cool water in there, but we do have an emission site right off of Oregon right out there. And now we have this whole area that is opened up. So when we got new openings like this and transfers of pressure, it changes our air patterns. And we'll get to that in a second. Look at this spot right here, right in the middle of your La Nina. All this water was turning cold for a La Nina cycle. That one patch right there has messed up the La Nina cycle right there. Okay. And it's clearly a volcanic emission site on the ocean floor. When we do the volcanic report, that's the volcanic sites above water. Well, the surface of the planet is the ocean floor too. It's just covered with water, is all. Meanwhile, down here in South America, you can see that they have a lot of their openings and hot water plumes, and they were in wintertime down here. They're transitioning now, but during the winter they had all these hot water emission sites all along here where the coldest water in the world resides here off the tip of Africa, between Africa and Antarctica, some of the coldest water in the world during the wintertime. We got these heat plumes out here. Well, all because of volcanic sites that have opened up. Oh, let's look around. We don't count the inlets like this because water gets trapped in there and can't circulate around. So we're just kind of looking at the ocean, basically. Look at this off the coast of Sumatra here. So we're seeing pressure change from this region. This island kind of lightened up in color because we had a little pressure in this region. Come over here and look at Java. It did have some yellow going around the outside of it, but that's diminished now because we've seen so much SO2 emissions. There you are, Risk 603. Good to see you here. Glad you made it. All right. And you can see a lot of that pressure that was yellow around here is gone. We have some volcanic emissions and a new site that's opened up over here. So a transfer of pressure, we got something leaking over here. Okay. Let's take a peek up here by Taiwan. All right, a couple of days ago, there was yellow coming into this region to the northern part of Taiwan. Now look, we have cold water inundation on the upper part of Taiwan up here. We have cold water inundation trying to creep up into the fulcrum point right there. The nearest yellow is out here, okay, where we've been seeing some earthquake activity out in this region with our little buildings out there. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and put the wind on now. Okay, and as I was saying, hot air rises, cold air rushes in to replace it. It creates a vortex, a rotation, and then you start to see this is cold, hot region causing spin and producing typhoon genesis right here. Hurricane, typhoon, cyclonic type genesis in this area because we have hot next to cold. And it was creating big conveyor belt type structures. All right, those conveyor belt has broken down into independent vortexes now as we go through the transition season here. And you can see, look at this, we got another one forming right there. This little hot spot right here might be a little inducer of rotation out here, and then they get into the hotter water when they're spinning, start heading into that area. Okay, so let's pull down and go right there and let it spin for a second. And you can see that the storm's just kind of stuck here spinning. All right, a lot of this is coming out the coast, turning and going back out. Some of this is going up and over this ridge into Canada and then dropping down into the country, where here in the middle of the USA, we have hot water, hot air coming up through the middle of the country. So in this area is where cold air is coming in, colliding with warm, moist air. See this air coming in, turning and colliding, and this is where we're having our severe weather through this area. And we also have our hurricane down here spinning around. And where is it going? Where's that rotation going? Into warmer waters. So expect to see a little increase in the strengthening of it as it approaches the shoreline. If it were coming this way into cooler water, it would weaken. But as you can see, we got strong um, a very strong feed of moisture. We have a hurricane feeding moisture into this channel area. See the cold air coming in and just hooking a turn, slamming together. That's why they're seeing, you know, really heavy snowfall in Colorado, back in New Mexico, and stuff like that because of this setup right here. And we're going to kind of pull back a little bit so you can see the Atlantic and its conveyor belt structure. And usually our southern or our lower jet controls the storm tracks. Well, right now, this was so strong over the summertime that it was controlling the southern jet. So our weather patterns have changed due to volcanic activity on the ocean floor. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're looking at it, okay? And it intensifies storms in some areas, and I think it's going to intensify storms this winter, and we could be in for some, you know, very heavy snowfalls. What used to be 4 inches will be now 4 feet. We were seeing 4 inches of rain that turned into, flash floods. So we're seeing more moisture in the air with more ash from volcanoes mixing in, creating more raindrops, thus more potential for flooding, flash flooding, mega floods. You see what happened to Spain right there over and over again. It wasn't just one thing, and you see the pattern that they're stuck in right here. And if something opens up, then that'll change. But if it continues, this pattern will just sit there until there's a change. Okay, so there's that. Let's take a peek over in this region really quick. All right, so there's all your wind patterns being affected by, volcanic activity on the ocean floor. Now we're going to come over to do that. Now we're going to take the wind off, and we'll leave that there for our earthquake report because we'll be coming back to that. I love you guys. You're so patient and tolerant. This is frustrating for me. I like to have it all opened, every page ready to go for you guys, and my little laptop just can't handle it too much anymore. All right, so let's get into this here. A lot of good earthquake reporting being done lately. Watching some other people's reports, and they're doing their best to keep up with what's going on here. All right, diving in our deep quake region, Fiji here. Okay, let's start getting some of these older ones out of the way with a 4.7 down at 536. Mid-range 4 up a couple of ticks, not much. Okay, we'll hit the red one last. So we had a 4.7. We also had a 4.4 down at 526. This should be a plate boundary quake or close to it. 4.735, right on the flank of this volcanic ridge. Now, our latest deep quake here is a mid-range 4.4 down at 517. So 3 mid-range 4 or a little bit higher down at depth. Okay, that brings 5 energy, a little more to the surface. Here we had this 4.7. A little further down, we get a 4.6 at the surface. Energy coming into this part of the plate boundary system gets weakened by the SO2 emissions out of that island. Okay, it acts like a leak in a bicycle tube. You're trying to pump pressure into the tube, and if you got a leak, 2 slow leaks right next to the valve stem, well, not much pressure is going to make it through the rest, but it diminishes pressure in this region. Plus, we have all kinds of volcanoes going off around here. Coming around the corner, we do catch this one up here, a 4.9, and now this is at the surface. You see these two little volcano islands right here, this one right here that's broken the surface. There would be a third right there, and even maybe a fourth right here. So in between these in this line is your 4.9, and you know what we do with 4.9s here. It's a 5 at the surface. Energy being scrubbed at the surface there. Okay, it made it to the surface. Here's another 4.9 at 13, so another 5 there at the surface. We come into this region, nothing in the deep quake region right there, nothing around Java and Sumatra. Remember we had that new opening here? All that heat coming off of Sumatra right here? Well, we have all these little seamounts, and it could be leaking right out of the crack itself. Now, just touch base on the rest of this area. Nothing through here, but up here in China, a 5.0 at the surface again. So, mid-range 4s, 5 energy at the surface. Let's do Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a 5.1 at the surface there, okay? Cookie Cutter, 4.7 at the surface. Just perfect examples of how this works. The whole system just doing its job, relieving pressure. All right, coming into this area now. We have had a little quake swarm at this area. We've had several quakes over the past few days here. Here's another 4.9 at a volcanic site, Volcano Island. This is another 4.9, 4.7. So a couple of 5s here, 4.9s, 5s, and a 4.7 all at this area right here where our little buildings are, okay? Craziness on the planet. You're seeing these huge structures on the ocean floor all lined up. And just to give you an idea, here's this one of them, okay? Take one of them and compare it to this island over here. So it's bigger than the island that's sticking up above the water. The actual structure itself is about the size of the base of the island. So basically, these squares are about the size of the base of this volcano island. And we're going to zoom into the island itself. And you can see that it looks like a dot on the surface, but it's a pretty good size island. If you were to walk around that island, it would take you half a day or so. So these buildings are bigger than that island right there. See? All right. And we're having quakes around this region. In fact, what I want to do while we're here at this site, I want to get a 7-day all magnitude out of this region. So over the course of a week, yeah, see, that's why I did this. Over the course of a week at this site, we have had a quake swarm with 5.0 there, 5 to 8 right there, 5.2 right there, 5.0. So a lot of energy being relieved at this place right here next to these underwater buildings or whatever. Okay. And we go back to today, 1 day all magnitude now. You can see 3 quakes in this region today. Across the way, tip of Japan. This is where we saw a bigger quake before, right off the coast here. 4.5 at this weak spot here. So magnitude, mid-range 4. Just a little bit deeper down at 44. It means it's on a volcanic feature. See this ridge right there? We got islands that pop up above it right here, and then we have this plateau with like a cliff face hanging down, and right at that point, it's your mid-range 4. Okay, nothing at the fulcrum point around Taiwan here, or this other fulcrum point area right there. So we need quakes in this region to relieve the pressure in that area. Nothing too big, 5, mid-range 5, to relieve the most amount of pressure without doing damage. Okay, let me take a sip of this here. All right, coming into this region, a lot of volcanic activity going on from the Kamchatka, keeping earthquakes down in this region. We used to see all kinds of focal point activity at this region. That has diminished a lot over the last year. Now it's all volcanic activity on the Kamchatka. You can see there's no microquaking anywhere through this region until you get up until the main part of Alaska here, and these are all small. We're talking twos. The biggest 2.1. So a few little microquakes going on in there. Coming down into British Columbia. We saw a storm on the map last time that was approaching this area with severe weather. And lo and behold, they had a tornado up here in British Columbia. So, meanwhile, 1.7 here at the Eucalypt, Canada. Fulcrum Point quake here on your Juan de Fuca. A 2.7 here, Petrolia, California. Meanwhile, up here's Mount St. Helens with an earthquake. That's earthquake activity at a volcanic site. Here's Rainier, earthquake just off the flank of it. So little earthquake activity at volcanic sites means pressure down below is working its way up. Here we are at the geysers. You can see they're all colored red. There's some microquake activity going on currently there, relieving pressure as it comes into the North Bay, keeping magnitudes down to like 1.6 here. Nothing along the San Andreas until you get way down here with a 2, 1.3. So magnitudes are way down right now. Our biggest one right here, 2.4, Joshua Tree. Little microquaking going along on this teardrop formation right along the ridge here at Malibu is your 2.5. It cuts in like this, hits the plate boundary, comes down. Let me take this out of the frame. Okay, this little teardrop bulge, you see it come out here and go back down into the plate here. And that's where we're seeing activity as long as the crest of this through here and even pushing further inland to Joshua Tree there. But very light activity. That's good. It means pressure's been relieved in that area. And we come over here, and I showed you this region before here in Southern California. This red patch right here used to be bright yellow, and it got bright yellow right up to the coastline, like pressure was underneath this as well. You could see we have cold water inundation along the coastline. All that pressure in this area has been relieved, and your earthquake activity is very minimal in there. That's good. Little magnitude check here, 3.2 in New Mexico. Man-made perforations in the crust. Okay, big story of the day is this quake, a 5.8 down here in Panama. This is at the surface, okay? And an interesting thing about this is there were other quakes, a 5.6 and over here a 4.5. All surface quakes. You see this little island that's already formed over here. Can you see the plateau work that's underneath the water here going along? Almost looks like a big toe sticking out here. It goes in, then this would be another little feature sticking out right here with a canyon going up there, canyon going up there. All right, so there would be a big toe right here, and this would be the other toe feature. And there's your 4.5 there. 5.6 at the surface here and 5.8 at the surface. So some activity, a new weak spot has opened up around this volcanic, this volcanic plateau. And you see this fulcrum point in the plate boundary. When pressure comes along this area, this is an area of weakness. Okay, imagine if I was pushing through the back side of the screen. I took this poker and pointed it at the camera and put pressure on the back side of the screen pointing right at the camera. Well, one of the places along a crack fracture that it's going to be the weakest is right on a corner spot like that. So you see it pointing at these quakes. These quakes, this pressure is building because of this fulcrum point area. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a quake right out here too. It's not far away from these. So this area on a little alert because we got this fulcrum point activity going on this volcanic plateau too. Interesting effect that's going on right there, and a new path of least resistance. This is also almost acting like a fulcrum point, but pointing this direction. Just out here, just back from it. If this area is locked up right now, well, the path of least resistance would be just a little bit further back. You see how we have a little peninsula pointing out here too? So another little push of pressure along this region. So almost a little fulcrum point quake inland here, a 3.8 down at 51, right in this area. You can tell that the topography was carved out by, volcanic and earthquake activity over eons. Here's a 4.3, 274, 4.0, 162. That's all mountains and thick crust right there, so you get deeper quakes. We already checked that. That was your mid or your 5 on the mid-Atlantic ridge. So that's good. That's a plate boundary system. We need to see pressure relieved along it as well because it'll come up this region and hit Iceland. And 4.7 here on the Reykjanes Ridge relieves pressure just underneath Iceland there, so keeping their volcanic activity down a little bit. Now let's get on over to a volcano page. Can you see that up above there? 36 and 33. Yeah, 36 erupting and 33 in warning. That is 69 volcanoes altogether. 7 years ago, when all this started happening to me, if I told you 7 years later that we would have almost 70 volcanoes, you would have said, Brian, you're crazy. Well, here we are, and I am still crazy about you. Shall we? Shivaloosh up in the Kamchatka. Didn't give a height or anything on that, does it? Luatobi. Big old plume coming out of it. Semeru on the island of Java. All right, here we go. Shivaloosh had a 20,000 foot blast. 20,000 feet is an indication of more pressure down below, shoving ash higher in the sky. Can lay on. You can lay on me. All right. 10,000 feet out of that. Ibu or IBU at 8,000 feet. Luatobi Flores, okay, 20,000 foot blast. That's pretty high. Semeru on East Java, it's 15 or 14. Here, lowered down to 14 a little bit. Ducono, 8,000. Fuego, 17,000. Songay, no report there, but Reventador, 14,000. And Sabancaya, unable to detect. But that was just in the last few minutes because those are currently erupting. Here's today. This is today, November 9th, which is now yesterday because, well, time flies at this channel. Okay, there's your map of insanity. Here's that plate boundary system where the Pencil Island is and some of the pressure being relieved by volcanoes in that region, keeping quake activity down and magnitudes down in that region. Map of insanity. Don't forget Erebus down in Antarctica. And we have an active volcano here. And all along here. Oh my goodness, they're all over the place. All right, let's get to it. Karaminski, another big ash plume coming out of that. Canleon. Ibu, IBU. All right. Now, here we go with these. Lots of good images, lots of good video going around of this big blast that came out of, this is Karaminski. The one that came out of Luatobi Flores, just out there. Anyways, Karaminski, no identification. Shibaloosh, 20,000. Leon, 10,000. Ebu, 7,000. Toby Flores, 52,000 feet. That says 52,000. There's your big blast, the biggest of 2024. Our biggest, I think, since the Hunga Tonga. Okay, and that puts a bunch of ash way up there into the stratosphere. It's going to come raining down through all the moisture in the air, gathering up particulates, and the particulates will be gathering up moisture and creating raindrops on the way down. Okay, so 52,000 foot blast earlier today out of Toby Flores. Semaru on East Java had a 15,000 foot blast, so pushing its maximum. Ducono 8, Santa Guido 13, Fuego 15, Nevada del Ruiz at 21, Songay at 20, 21 and 20. There's still high blasts, okay? Sabancaya 22. All right, and that's it for your volcano report, okay? 69, roughly 70 volcanoes going off every day, pushing ash into the air, mixing with your more humidity. There's more humidity, more moisture content in the air. Mixing with more ash particles makes way more raindrops out of each storm. So your volcanic activity, everything is just affecting the weather. And we got the spiritual realm that takes part in it as well. So here we go with what kind of forecasting we can do this juncture in time. All right. Currently, still little traces of severe weather in that little alleyway that we were looking at here. Here's your cold air pushing down your warm, moist air being fed up into this region by the hurricane here. Then we go to the morning hours here. Severe weather possible in Indiana there, so watch out in their morning hours. Shouldn't be too bad. It doesn't look like tornadic activity. So there's noon tomorrow, noon the 10th, convection the 10th. Nighttime, here comes severe weather up to British Columbia again. Now, they had some tornadoes that tore down some trees and blocked roads and stuff. Watch out again. You could possibly get a couple of spin-ups. If not, even strong winds in this storm could take down some trees. So there's the 10th, nighttime the 10th. There's the morning of the 11th, noon, convection, nighttime. Morning of the 12th, noon, convection, nighttime, severe weather up here again. See this region? You got to watch out because cold air up in Canada, and we have warm air still in the Pacific swirling around in that pattern that we saw out there, mixing together, causing severe weather off of Canada. That's nighttime the 12th, morning of the 13th, noon, convection, nighttime. Morning of the 14th, noon, convection, nighttime. 15, noon, convection, nighttime. 16, noon, convection, nighttime. 17, noon, convection. Again here, severe weather. Okay, this is a little further out than accuracy. So, but you see how this cold air, this blob, and this blob here riding next to each other. They're paralleling each other on either side of that low. Then they start to blend together here. They finally kiss. And then that whole thing, this whole big comma structure. See it coming down? Here's your low spinning here, but a bunch of cold air being incorporated into this rotation. This kind of setup right here with this long tail could cause severe weather to, whip up like this in these quasi-linear storm fronts, these QLCSs, and that would be an intense QLCS at nighttime of the 17th if we saw that kind of event happening. And it even goes into morning hours because cold air back down here, draping all the way down through this, has pushed this far down into this warm, moist air that's coming. Remember, there's hot water right here off the coast. So any air that's coming right up here is going to be very warm, very moist, with Arctic blast coming down into here. That's a very dangerous situation right there. So let's pray that this little configuration setup here does not happen, or if it does, it doesn't blossom as intensely as it's projecting right there. That would be morning time too. That would be the morning hours, catching people off guard on the 18th, going noontime, convection, nighttime, morning of the 19th, noon, convection, nighttime, morning of the 20th, noon, convection, nighttime, 21, noon, convection, nighttime, 22, noon, convection, nighttime, 23, convection, nighttime, 24, noon, convection, nighttime, 25, noon, convection, nighttime. All that's all subject to change. We can only do about 3 days out is the only thing that's really kind of halfway reliable, because after that, any activity on the sun could induce and enhance any kind of weather, causing bombogenesis to that as well. So not only do we have more particulates with more moisture, but we also have bombogenesis, or intensification of storms due to solar activity as well. It's just a bombarding effect. And you can see severe weather hitting this region over and over again. So everybody in that area, be on alert. I'm just going to let that play, the little movie play for a second there. You can pick out your region. You can see time dates and timestamps up there. So I'll let that play for a second. A lot going on, a lot to take in, and it can be very disturbing. It's important that you understand and you see what's happening, and you can wrap your head around it. And then we do our spiritual report, so all of this makes sense. All right. A lot of stuff to stress about, or a lot of stuff that this would stress you out, and that's why we do the spiritual report, because there's a meaning behind all this. So let's just get her done. Enough of the astrophysics, enough of the geophysics. Now it's time for your metaphysics, or how you work. All right, we're going to start off with some images. They're just, well, very important images. Can't really play a little of the video. Oh.
You're not a child, you're a man. So stop wearing so many layers to go outside. And get the
After what I've seen on some of the TikToks, makes me wonder if some of these men are men. All right. Bingo. Whoops. Let's just go theater mode like that. Okay. This event took place. Man bought a new camera just to capture this face, because he was seeing it and he was like, wow, this is really something. And he went out and bought a very expensive camera to zoom into the moon and actually captured this face by the moon. This is not in the clouds. It's being illuminated by the moon. It's out next to the moon. And it happens to be my face. And it happened on a night when we were doing readings at the same time. Okay. Now we're going to come over to my channel, open up a few images here. All this stuff started happening to me just right before the Revelation 12 star alignment. Okay. And then ever since. Now I got giant faces that follow me in the clouds, UFO activity that follows me everywhere I go. All kinds of interesting advanced races from the past that watch, follow, and study my every move everywhere I go. Go outside, there's giant faces in the clouds staring at me, and I'm just, how can people not see this stuff, man? It's just because they don't look up. They're too buried in their cell phones. And I think you guys can notice that too when you're out driving around, or you're out doing your errands, or you're just, in public. Everybody is face down, buried in their phone. No wonder why they can't see this in the clouds. Because when you see these things happen, you're to look up. Well, they got you looking down, and you're missing out. That's why I got to show you what's going on in your clouds. Okay, so there's that image we're going to be reading to. Got that one, this one. And in fact, maybe we'll go tiptoe through the photo gallery for a minute here if you want. Ever since this started happening, I take lots of pictures. Here is one of your stellar cores, the bigger stellar core interacting with the sun. Here it was captured quite well. These are your bigger objects that are bigger than the sun. This is just the occulta. Remember that white circle in the middle is what represents the size of the sun. So there's the sun right roughly right around there. That's much bigger. And here's some of these little events here. This guy was interesting. You see that the butterfly man or this guy coming together here in the clouds. I took a bunch of pictures and then stacked them on top of each other. It's called a flip book. We used to do in school. You write a little cartoon on one page and then make the dude, take a step or walk or whatever. That's what you're seeing here. These are clouds that are congealing and coming together to form faces and form all these different entities and stuff that I'm capturing. You see this one here. So when I say there's these faces that follow me and watch me and study me everywhere I go, can you see the big bad wolf here? And he's huffing and puffing and blowing out clouds. All right. And when I say that the spiritual realm has a hand in this too, well, you can see the wolf blowing out clouds. Some of your storms are actually being generated by the spiritual realm. I watch some storm chasers. I watch storm chasers a lot because of the cloud activity. And you got your Brandon Kopic and your Dr. Reed driving right into a giant face that's looking right down at them. And they're driving around in circles, cutting around the storm, out flanking it and skirting it, and this face just kind of watching them from up above, down below, skirting around like ants. Very interesting stuff. Okay, and then also lion faces showing up in the clouds wherever I go. There we go. You can see the lion face here a little bit better. Okay, these are real images. This isn't Photoshop or CGI or AI or anything like that. Here's this one. This is what I was thinking about. I was sitting there praying and I threw my arms up thinking victory. And this V-shaped object comes out of nowhere and goes right at the camera. Boom. All kinds of paranormal activity been following me ever since this. So here, this is a cool one. Here, these kids are sleeping on a couch, and you can see there's two angels on their knees bowing over these sleeping kids. And if you kind of stare at these wooden bars back here and look at it at the peripheral of your eye, you'll see that there's an angel right there. These are the dark cups inside the wing right here. This dark area is the inside of the wing. That white stripe is the edge of the wing. And you can see there's an angel on his knees bowing. And then back here, there's another wing coming up, going down. And they're locked wing and wing right here in the middle. So there's two angels locked wing and wing, and they're bowing. My sleeping kids right there. And you can see that the picture is warping and twisting. And it's twisting and warping because of these angels bowing there. This camera is mounted on a thing that stands still, so the camera is not moving. The picture is warped. These pictures are warping and twisting because of the bowing of those angels. Hopefully you can see those. That's your spiritual realm being caught on modern day digital technology. Okay, so let's back on all this. Let's go over to the albums. Put those. All right, so here's this event again, happened on Easter, very important. In this one here, Here's Jesus making my face in the sky with this crown and the etherical. All right, so my face with a crown showing up in the clouds. Here's my face with a crown showing up in the clouds on Easter. Okay, 2,000-year-old prophecy came true. The real deal happened. And it's been very hard, very excruciatingly painful. It's hard when nobody believes you. Yet you got all of this going on around you, and nobody takes time to look. Now, isn't that a shame that they didn't take a little of their precious time, a moment of their precious time to take a peek? And aren't you glad that you did? Because that pays off in dividends, okay? That you gave me a moment of your time and that you believe me and trust me pays off for you. Now, let me get some stuff here. I got some stuff to read for you guys here because I know what you're going through. I feel you. Boy, do I feel it. So we're going to start. First of all, we all need to just relax for a minute. You see what's going on. You see the signs all around you. And it can be disturbing to people who don't understand. But for those who believe me and trust me and understand, you can relax. So take a nice deep breath all the way in. Hold it for a few seconds. Slowly exhale, even moan, or I like to click and just and exhale. So nice deep breath in. Slow exhale and relax in my healing, holy presence. Be still while I transform your heart and mind. Let go of cares and worries so that you can receive my peace. Cease striving and know that I am God. Do not be like the Pharisees who multiplied regulations, creating their own form of godliness. They got so wrapped up in their own rules that they lost sight of me. That's happening again these days. People are getting so wrapped up in their own rules and laws that they have lost sight of me. Even today, man-made rules about how to live the Christian life enslave people. These are man-made rules of how to live Christian life, and they just enslave people. Okay, so don't let that happen to you. Don't let man-made rules about how to live the Christian life enslave you, because their focus is on their performance rather than on me. It is through knowing me intimately that you become like me. This requires spending time alone with me. Let go, relax, be still, and know that I am God. I am involved in each moment of your life. I have carefully mapped out every inch of your journey throughout each day, and even through much of it, it may feel haphazard. Okay, so it's all mapped out, even if it feels haphazard. That's the way it's supposed to. If it were so mundane and boring, you would know what to expect. It has to be a haphazard to keep you alert, to keep you dependent. Because I am involved in each moment of your life, I have carefully mapped out every inch of your journey. Okay? But because you live in this fallen world, these fallen conditions, things always seem to be unraveling around the edges, kind of. So expect to find trouble in each day, and at the same time, Trust that my way is perfect, even in the midst of such a messy imperfection. Okay, that messy imperfection is challenging you. It's crafting you and shaping you and molding you. It's perfecting you. So trust that my way is perfect, even in the midst of this messy imperfection. Stay conscious of me as you go through each day, remembering that I never leave your side. Let the Holy Spirit inside you guide you step by step, protecting you from unnecessary trials and equipping you to get through whatever must be endured. Okay? So it protects you from unnecessary trials while at the same time, while equipping you to get through the hard ones that must be endured. So as you trudge through the sludge of this fallen world, keep your mind in heavenly places with me. Thus, the light of my presence shines on you, giving you peace and joy that circumstances just cannot touch. Just can't touch it. I want to be central in your entire being. So when your focus is firmly on me, my peace displaces fears and worries. That's what this is all about. You see your foundation, you see your rock sitting right in front of you. Then you will, when you focus on me, my peace, that image displaces your fears and worries. You can relax now. Your fears and worries can be displaced. Okay. What else do I have? Fears and worries will encircle you, seeking entrance. So you have to stay alert. That's why everything is kind of in flux, is to keep you to stay alert. So fears and worries will try to encircle you, seeking entrance into your mind, and that's why you have to stay alert. So let trust and thankfulness stand guard. Trust and thankfulness stand guard in your mind. Okay, that's what keeps you staying alert. So let trust and thankfulness stand guard, turning back fear before it can gain a foothold. So fear and trust are standing guard so fear cannot gain a foothold. There is no fear in my love. Where is it? Come here, come here. This image with that heart. Full screen, please, Lord. Thank you. That love displaces all fear. Okay? There is no fear in my love, which shines on you continually. There is no fear in my love. Sit quietly in my love while I bless you with radiant peace. Do you see radiant? Do you see it radiating off? That's radiant peace right there. You can actually see it. Radiant peace. Sit quietly in my love while I bless you with radiant peace. Turn your whole being to trusting and loving me. And that will help you in challenging times. You will welcome challenging times as opportunities to trust me. You have me beside you and my spirit within you, so no set of circumstances is too much for you to handle. When the path before you is dotted with difficulties, beware of measuring your strength against those challenges. That's what we automatically do. You see all these difficulties. Oh my God, how am I going to make it through these? You start measuring your strength against your challenges. Stop doing that. When the path before you is dotted with difficulties, be careful of measuring your strength against those difficulties. That calculation is certain to riddle you with anxiety. Performance anxiety. That's what we're trying to squash is anxiety. And how do you squash that anxiety? By looking at your difficulties as opportunities. Okay? Now, without me, you wouldn't make it past the first hurdle. The way to walk through the demanding day is to grip my hand tightly and stay in close communication with me. Let your thoughts and spoken words be richly flavored with trust and thankfulness. Remember, they're the ones guarding the door. So let your thoughts and your prayers or your words when you're speaking to people too, let your thoughts and your spoken words be flavored with trust and thankfulness. And regardless of the day's problems, I can keep you in perfect peace as you stay close to me. You won't be in perfect peace if you're not close to me. So I can keep you in that perfect peace as you stay close to me. That's a lot of stuff. Okay. Also, you got to remember, you guys live in this fallen world. It's an abnormal world that's tainted by sin. So much of your frustration and failure results from you seeking perfection in this life. Huh. Isn't that it right there? Isn't a bunch of your frustration and failure the result from you seeking perfection? Yeah. Yeah, when you realize that, then you're just going to be like, oh, dang, I was my own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. Much of your frustration and failure result from you seeking perfection in this life. And there is nothing perfect in this world except me. That is why closeness to me satisfies deep yearnings and fills you with joy. Your closeness to me satisfies your deep yearnings and fills you with joy. I have planted this longing for perfection in every human heart. This is a good desire, which I alone can fulfill. But most people seek this fulfillment in other people. They're looking for this perfection in other people. They're looking for fulfillment in other people and in earthly pleasures and achievements. What does that do? It creates idols. Thus, they create idols before which they bow down. They make all these pleasures, earthly pleasures and achievements and other people their idols, and I will have no other gods before me. Make me the deepest desire of your heart, then let me fulfill your yearning for perfection. With you and me together is where we make perfection. Okay? Seek my face. You see, my face is kind of blurry in this image, but when you seek my face, you'll see it in the clouds. You'll seek my face, and you will find my face in the clouds coming with power and great glory. See the crown? So seek my face, and you will find fulfillment of your deepest longing. My world is filled with beautiful things. They are meant to be pointers to me, reminders of my abiding presence. They're meant to be pointers to me, reminding you of my abiding presence. These are pointers to me because it's my face. Get this extra. And when you seek my face, you will find fulfillment of your deepest longing. This world is filled with things that are meant to be pointers to me, reminders of my abiding presence. The earth still declares my glory to those who have eyes that see and ears that hear. Huh, doesn't it? Where's that one? Right there. The earth still declares my glory to those who have eyes that see and ears that hear. You have the eyes to see me in the clouds. Do you hear me too? Because you had a darkened mind before you sought me wholeheartedly. I chose to pour my light into you so that you can be a beacon to others. There is no room for pride in this position. Your part is to reflect my glory. Your part is to reflect my glory, just like this light beaming off this face right here. When you have thankfulness and guarding your heart, you will be that beacon to others. When you are when you're using prayer, that's where you will find your perfection. I can keep you in perfect peace if you stay close to me. There is no fear in my love. Um, I planted longing for perfection in your heart, which is good. That's if you have that longing for perfection, then you're in good shape. A lot of people don't have that. They would rather just do things half-assed or something. What was the other? Oh, I wanted the other one. No. Yeah. Even today, man made rules about how to live the Christian life enslave people. Their focus is on their performance. Remember performance and performance anxiety? And if beware of measuring your strength against your difficulties because that's what causes the anxiety. Okay. Yeah, so that's about it for tonight. It's important that you learn to let go and relax in moments and be still. During this time frame, we are still enduring. So days get hard. Not every day is perfect. Every day has challenges. We have to salvage the day. If it starts going south and you see it going south and you're about to slip into that pit of self-pity, take a moment, take a break, take a few deep breaths, say a few prayers. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change. Because that's probably the issue, is somebody in your life that you want to change, but you can't. And you have to accept the fact that you can't. So, quick little prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the circumstances I cannot change, the difficulties I cannot change. God, grant me the serenity to accept and overcome these difficulties. It just simple stuff like that really works. Give it a shot, give it a try. Many of you have, and you are indeed finding the peace that transcends your circumstances. Many of you have changed your perspective, looking at your difficulties as opportunities now. You are starting to see how this works. You're starting to practice these disciplines and find that peace in your life. That's how this works. Okay. It's not how Hollywood portrayed. It's not all a bunch of Christian mumbo jumbo. This is how you're supposed to live your life and perform this way and that way. No, 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 no. It's a lot different. It's about your spiritual overcoming. You're overcoming obstacles in this world. I want you to think about all the things that are up against the modern day Christian. Every war that's going on, all the political stuff that's been against us, um, uh, uh, censorship. Just look around. It's all pointing against the believer, right? So, as that believer, you need to understand that you're a spiritual warrior who is taking on the world. And when you understand that you are up against the world, then you understand your position and that you are a spiritual warrior who is not letting that day get ruined. You are overcoming the world. And every time you salvage your day, salvage being the root word of salvation, okay? When you salvage your day, you turn it around, you bring that light into other people's lives. They're like, hey, how come it didn't ruin your day? And you can tell them, well, I got this thing, I found it. I found it. And you can bring that into other people's lives too. Okay. And they will in turn learn the disciplines, practice them, and find the tools that they need to find joy and peace that transcends their circumstances as well. Okay. Then when all of that starts to happen and make sense, and you see these images and you realize this is my face with a crown above it in the clouds on Easter. This is me coming in the clouds with power and great glory. When you see these things begin to happen, lift up your head. Don't bury it in your cell phone. Lift up your head, look up in the clouds. You'll see me coming in the clouds with power and great glory. When you see me in the clouds, you will be caught up like a good book, like a good song, like a good YouTube live stream. You get caught up. It takes you away from your circumstances for a while and takes you to a better place. Frees your mind of your worries and your cares for a minute when you're caught up with me in the clouds. You are fascinated, you're intrigued, you're caught up with me in the clouds. Okay? Not how Hollywood portrayed it. When you see these things become to happen, you look up, you see me coming in the clouds, you get caught up with me coming in the clouds. That's where we meet in the air of cyberspace, live on YouTube, where I can't come over and knock down your door and come give you a hug. I'm stuck where I am. So I have to meet my family in the air of cyberspace. That's you guys. You're my family. You came here, you gave me your time, you see me in the clouds. That makes you my family. You get caught up with me in the clouds where I made a place. I went ahead and made a place that where I am, you may be also here at this channel on this live stream, even in replay. Timeless. Even in replay. Still works even in replay. That's timeless. The message will work the day tomorrow, the day before, yesterday, no matter what day, this same message will work on any day throughout eternity. It's timeless. You are indeed what they would call raptured. The word does not exist in the Bible. All these Bible scholars just dwelling over a concept and a word that does not exist in the Bible. When you read it, read it. It says, when you see these things come to pass, lift up your head, you will see me coming in the clouds. Not parting the clouds, hovering with the wind blowing through the hair and all kinds of music and, fireworks. No, you'll see me in the clouds. This can only happen in the clouds. Only one person can do this to the clouds. Make the clouds do this stuff. There's only one person who can make the clouds do this stuff. It's me. It's wherever I go, the clouds do this wherever I go. Okay? You are indeed that royal family. When you believe me, when you trust, you find your foundation. You can lean on it, you can build on it, you can do all kinds of stuff. It heals, it rekindles friendships. You can do anything with this. You can. Okay. That's why I'm giving you these tools, because I have found it and I want to share it with my family so they will have that peace. It's not about, hey, look at me, what I discovered, all this and all that, blah, blah, blah. No, it's about what I have for you. And it's a peace that I have found that transcends your circumstances. It's a perspective of looking at your difficulties as opportunities. And then when you overcome that difficulty, you've overcome the world and you get a glory. It's like you've overcome a challenge and you get a little medal and it's a glory, a little crown. And I take that glory and I make a little collage like this of all your glories and say one day you had 6 overcomings. Well, you'd have 6 little glories and I make a little collage of each one of your little overcomings because I know what to do with them. The challenge is there for a reason. Without the challenge, there would be nothing for you to overcome. And you would just sit there spiritually dead because you haven't achieved anything. Okay? You achieve stuff through me. Pray, Jesus, help me. If you're getting frustrated with your traffic situations, with political situations, and you're going to rant and go on a tirade, instead of complaining, turn that around into a prayer by saying, Jesus, please help me. These people are driving me crazy. Then you can lay into your rant and open up. Open up. Get that stuff out of you and give it to me. Quit carrying it around in a backpack like rocks, collecting all these anxiety rocks and throwing them in your backpack and insisting that you carry around all this anxiety. Give it to me. Let go. Find peace. Go out there and be the spiritual warrior that you are. Be that light in people's lives. Try to shine like this into other people's lives. You will bring joy to them, and they will find something that you have, and they will find that peace that transcends their circumstances as well. And when you're able to give that gift to somebody else, it feels really good. It feels really good when you can give the tools to somebody to fix their broken heart. Okay? That's what I do. I mend broken hearts. I build foundations. I'm everything you could dream of. All right. That's it for tonight. I miss you guys. I love you guys. Keep enduring. Okay. Just keep going forward. It's progress. If you're trying to achieve perfection, that gives you the anxiety. Include me in it and just grow. Okay. Quit worrying about what happens when you go through a black hole. It doesn't matter. Quit worrying about, oh, what's on the fringe of the galaxy, how many universes there are. It doesn't matter. All these scientific questions and all these theories and conjecture and stuff do not matter. This is what matters. This is your ultimate destiny here. Okay, you're getting glimpses of heaven already. All right, you know the path that you're on. Just keep going forward, keep enduring. It's with your faith and your trust that you have a foundation on which you can fall back on, build on. You're having a rough day, just take a moment, pray. Um, there's so much that is misconceptualized by all of this, that all your prayers have to be thou art and thee, thys, and no. This is your mental this is for your mental illness recovery. This whole planet has a bad case of mental illness because we've all been programmed by schools and the media, and you've been brainwashed. Well, I'm not trying to brainwash you. I'm just coming in and cleaning out the junk that they put in your mind and cleaning out and giving you a clear mind and a heart so you can go forward. Okay? When you get distracted by the world and you find yourself pulled away and all caught up in all the drama and stuff, that's when you need to recognize it, take a break. Lord, help me. I got caught up in it again. Please help me not do that so often, or please help me catch myself when I'm doing it. Many times a day, I'll be, Lord, here I'm doing it again. I catch myself starting to complain, or I catch myself doing something and I go, oh, Lord, there I go again. I'm doing it again. Please help me stop that. When you speak out loud to yourself, you are talking to the Holy Spirit within you. It how do I put this? It reaffirms it in your mind when your own ears hear your own voice say it to yourself. It reaffirms it in your mind. That's why it's important that you pray out loud, talk out loud, speak to the Holy Spirit inside you out loud. And all of a sudden, just they sound silly, but try it, practice it. You will find results. And that's what this is. I just want you guys to have those results and be able to pass them on and get the joy that I get out of passing on these tools to you. When you guys, I watch your progress, okay? I'm in every chat room watching you guys lurking. Nobody likes to chat with me, but I'll sit there and read every person's comments, okay? And I do a profile real quick on you, and I know everything about you. All right. So every person here, I know you intimately. You're getting to know me. Okay. And the more you know me, the more intimately you know me, the more you can trust me, the more you can believe me, the more foundation you have under your feet, the more peace you have, the more strength you will have as we continue to endure as we go down this path. All right. Whew. Is that it, Lord? Anything else we're going to squeeze in? No? Okay. I think that's it for tonight. I think we're done. Is that it, Lord? Yeah, I think you're done talking. All right, that's it for tonight. I love you guys. I miss you guys. And until my next show, I will be back. I'm a man of my word. I will be back. I am already back. Can't you tell? Bye.